In this video, I'm going to explain how I made signing clients for my agency extremely easy to do. And this is going to apply to booking meetings. It's going to apply to closing the actual deals once you do take the calls. And it even got to the point where at a certain time, we were closing nearly half of every single agency, every single prospect that we made an offer to, right? So half the people who came onto calls that we made an offer to would become a client. That's how easy it became. And honestly, it was done while speaking to less prospects, while speaking to them less, so spending less time on sales. And then also while having less objections, less of anything else, anything stopping the deal from happening. And what I want to start by saying is that when I first started out, I was absolutely terrible at sales and at acquisition in general. So booking meetings and signing clients, I hated both of them. It was so bad to the point that if I had a sales call scheduled for the next day and I woke up, the first thing that I would think of is, oh, I have a sales call, I get this anxiety, and I think about the call all day, right? And 5 minutes before the call, I would literally be sitting behind the laptop thinking, please just cancel the call so that I can say it's a no-show and I don't have to worry about it, right? It was that bad. And the thing is, it applied to everything, right? I didn't want to send outreach because I thought I'd get negative responses. I thought I'd be spamming people, and it just felt so bad. It felt so annoying, and it was so much work to do. And then, once I did take the calls, if the people did show up and I took the calls, then I'd still have to deal with all these objections. I didn't actually know what to say. So when I did get onto the call, it was kind of like they were leading it. They were asking me questions and I was just trying to sell myself the whole call. And then once we did get to the end of the call and it was time for the pitch and I told them the price and I said, do you want to get started? Then they'd give all these objections. They'd say, yeah, I need to talk to my partner. And I checked their website. They didn't even have a partner. But they would just say these things and they would say they need to think about it. And I didn't know how to handle any of these things. And then I would get questions like, okay, how are you different from other people? There's people offering cheaper options, right? There were so many things that stopped me from liking sales, from having a good time signing clients. And what I've done is completely change that. So like I mentioned in other videos, we're booking hundreds and hundreds of meetings every single month for ourselves and for our clients as well. And we're closing so many of these deals as well. And it's honestly very easy to do right now. So what I want to do in this video is walk you through the exact steps that I took to go from terrible at sales, hating it, not wanting to do anything, to having a very easy time, having the entire process automated and having myself removed from the process so that all of this just happens on autopilot and I just see the results in terms of bookings and then closing the client. And at the end of the video, I'll also share the exact system that I'm using to be closing more deals and making more sales without speaking to any prospects at the same time. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Ethan Welby. I'm the co-founder of Agency Growth Partner. Our main focus is in helping marketing agencies build out these acquisition systems. So booking the meetings, signing the clients, and we do this all on a done for you pay and results basis. So if you want more information on that, just check the link in the description. Now, the first concept that you need to understand, and when I heard this, it completely blew my mind because it confirmed exactly what I was thinking before. And it's the concept of sales energy. So I'll tell you a story on the way I found out about this. And the way that we book meetings for ourselves is via email and LinkedIn. So what we were doing is, like usual, we were booking some meetings via email and we were booking some meetings via LinkedIn and YouTube as well, right? So YouTube would bring in some, inbound leads. And what happened was I had 2 calls on one day. The first call was with someone booked through email. So I got onto the call and the worst thing that could have happened. They were like, can you remind me why I'm on this call? They didn't even know why they were on the call. And immediately, if that is happening at the start of your call, they don't even know why they're there, then you're just going to have a terrible time because from the start, you're on the back foot. From the start, I had to sell, okay, this is what we do. This is why we do it. This is who we help. Then I explain, okay, you came from this email. This is this. Then they're still confused and you go through the whole process and at the end you pitch. And they're like, yeah, I need to think about it because they don't even know who you are firstly. So it's just a nightmare selling. So I got off this call and I was like, okay, this was terrible. But immediately I was like, okay, I think this is a problem with our sales process. So I was looking at our script. I was looking at our messaging. I was looking at, how we're building rapport, all this stuff. And then I had the next call come up. And this call was booked from YouTube, right? So it's inbound, right? And I had this call and the person came onto the call with the biggest smile on their face ever. Like we knew each other for our whole lives. They came onto the call. They were like, hey, Ethan, man, I'm so excited to get going. I was watching your videos. I really want to learn more about what you do. And I was like, wow, this is great. This is completely different to the other one where the guy came on. He wasn't even looking at the screen. He was like some, angry man. But then the next person from the YouTube, they just had so much positive energy. So I went through the process. They were extremely excited the whole time. They answered the questions. They knew why they were there, at least. And once we got to the end, I made the pitch, told them the price, went through everything. They almost had no objections. They just had a couple questions. They wanted to know what the pricing was like, how to get started. And then we signed up. And the thing is, I went through the exact same process, right? But one call was cold. One call was, straight from email. They forgot why they were there, and it was just cold. They didn't know much about us. But the other one, I assumed they watched, many of my videos over a long period. And what it did was it warmed them up over time. And what I found was there was a clear difference. The people that were warmer, they were nicer. They were willing to, follow the process more. They had less questions. They had less objections. They had so much more trust and rapport before I even spoke to them. So because there's this difference, I always thought, okay, why are some calls easier than others? And this is when I really got to the conclusion of sales energy. Now, to explain sales energy simply, I'll put something on screen now. But imagine there are 2 points, okay? Point A, point B. The goal is to get from prospect from point A to point B. So point A is where it's completely cold, where they don't know who you are, they've never even heard of your company. Point B is they're signing up and they're a happy client. So our job as a salesperson, as a marketer, is to move them from point A to point B. So how do we do that? By spending time with them, by providing energy to them. And what is the time and energy? What does it consist of? This can be anything from case studies to videos to, referrals. Anything will move them to the end. And some things have more impact than others. So for example, one case study video will have a lot more impact in moving them from A to B than, let's say, a LinkedIn post or a tweet. So if this is it, if sales energy is what's required to get someone from A to B, and what we need to do is add as much energy as possible so we can move them as quickly as possible, what most people do, what people in the past do, is they spend all their energy on the call, right? They do everything live. So for example, they get onto the first call with the prospect, they don't know who they are, just like the one I mentioned. Then they have, let's say, 7 follow-up calls where they're constantly just managing objections, they're providing resources, they're giving references, they're giving case studies, they have to do all this stuff, they have to get onto call with the partner, they want to meet the team, they want to do all these things, and they waste, or the salesperson wastes so much time going through all of this. And I used to do the same thing. That's why I know this, and that's why I really want you to understand this, because I would waste hours and hours and hours every week on calls with one prospect just to build that trust over time. And eventually, if they said yes, get the deal. And if they said no, waste 10 hours just for a no. So obviously this is an inefficient way of doing it. So what I've found is that the most efficient way of creating the sales energy, of doing this, is using content, right? So instead of doing it live on calls with the prospect, getting onto calls, answering questions, doing it again, meeting their partner, proposing again, all this stuff. Instead of that, what I did was I used the content as sales energy. So these YouTube videos, for example, what I'm doing is I'm providing value. I'm answering questions. I'm managing objections in these videos so that when the prospect watches it, they move further along from point A to point B the more they watch. So the more videos they consume, the more they move across the line. So going back to the original example, with the person that came from the cold email, they had nothing. They just had a message and they got onto the call, but they had no movement towards. They've had no sales energy applied. But for the person who booked from the YouTube, they had a lot of sales energy because they could have watched 20 to 30 videos before they even decided to book. And then once they came on, they were already so far. They just needed a little push. And once they made that push, they became a client. So I hope this made the concept of sales energy very clear. And I made another video that covers this in more detail as well, plus a lot of other concepts like this that is very useful to understand if your goal is to sign more clients for a marketing agency. I'll put that over here as well. But once you understand that, now you know that we need to front load this sales energy before you speak to anyone. Because if you can do this, every single call, they're going to be happier. They're going to like you more. There's going to be less objections. There's going to be less questions. There's going to be less follow-ups, and everything will be easier. So now that we know that we need to do this, how do you actually create the content? What do you actually talk about? And what I'll do is I'll share exactly how I did it and how I'd recommend doing it for you as well. So the first way that I did it was I literally just listed out all the problems that my niche faces. So for example, I did marketing agency. I said they struggle to build an offer, struggle to book meetings, struggle to find qualified leads, struggle to close deals, struggle to build an automated outreach system. All these problems, I just listed them. And there was like 20 to 30 of them. And what I did was I picked one of them. I wrote, a couple bullet points as to how to actually solve it, right? So let's say booking meetings. I said they need to build an offer, they need to find leads, and they need to do outreach, right? These are 3 steps. And then what I did was I put this in a Google Doc, and then I just recorded a loom. So I didn't even put up a camera or anything. I just screen recorded myself with a little picture of myself in the bottom. And I explained how I solved this. And then I just posted it to YouTube. It was that simple. And honestly, what I'd recommend for you is the exact same. Because the reason I started like that was not because I thought that is the absolute most optimal, best strategy ever. It was purely because I knew it was easy to do and I knew that I'd be consistent with it, right? And it just lowered the barrier to entry to get started. And I recommend this to a lot of our clients. And what I get is a lot of pushback on the sense that they want to do it, they know they need to do it, but they have such a high level of perfection of wanting it to be perfect that they don't get started, right? They want their lighting to be perfect, they want to have their makeup on, they want to do all this stuff, but it actually doesn't matter, right? It may give a 10% increase of results, but honestly, the 10% increase isn't worth waiting 3 months to do, right? So the best thing that you can do right now is just do exactly what I said. List out the problems, pick one, and then list a couple of bullet points as to how you're going to solve it. Put it in a Google Doc, turn on Loom, record yourself explaining how to solve it. The video can be 5 to 15 to 30 minutes, and finish it, put it on YouTube, and now you have it. And I promise you, this alone, it sounds so simple, this alone will help you so much in sales. This process alone, what I'm telling you now, has contributed to so much revenue for our company. And it's really that simple. The reason that you are probably thinking right now, oh, okay, it sounds good in theory, but I'm not going to do that. Like, I don't want to do this for my niche. My niche doesn't watch YouTube videos. That's what everyone says. And that's why nobody does it. And that's why nobody gets the results from it, right? So by you doing this, I promise you, you will stand out from every single other person, every single other agency in the space if you can make these valuable videos that solves their problems for free. And then what I'm going to do now is share exactly how you can use them to make sure that everyone that you speak to actually sees these things. Because, unless they see it, it's useless. So for now, save this video, like the video, whatever it takes to actually make sure that you do this, do it, and then come back to the next step. So the final point is sharing the content. Now, a common thing that I see with marketing agencies is that they have such great things. Like, they have all these case studies, they have all these clients, they have a great team, they have a great brand, everything, but they don't show it, right? It's a very common thing, because it's like, I literally saw a client of ours and they have a case study with $1 billion company, but they don't talk about it. They're like, oh yeah, we just have a case study with that company. I was like, why don't you mention it? They're like, I don't know. And they're the ones struggling to sign clients. So if they just spoke about having a $1 billion case study, would it be more or less likely that they're going to sign more clients? I would assume more likely. But regardless, we've told them that now. But the key point is that you need to actually market the things that you have, because unless you market it, it's not going to be seen. So what I want to do is share a few ways that I implement right now for myself, my own business, to actually implement these assets, these pieces of content into the workflows, into, daily sales and everything, so that, we make sure that prospects see it and that you can actually get the benefits from it, so that everyone who does come onto a call is going to be as warm as possible and as qualified as possible as well. So the first and the simplest way to do it is on the landing page of whatever you use to book meetings with. So for example, if you use Calendly and you go into the Calendly settings, they're going to ask you, what is the URL? What is the website to, direct them to after they book? So if they go on your Calendly, they pick a time, they confirm it, where do they get taken after that? And there's a setting in Calendly. And what you can do is, right now for default, the default option is to just take them to the Calendly page, the Calendly confirmation page. But what I do is I redirect them to either my YouTube or another landing page with a lot of videos on and a lot of case studies too. So I make sure that as soon as they book, boom, they see more videos. Okay, so now they have the time to watch through all of this. And I explicitly tell them, watch this before our call, right? And I say, watch this before our call so that we can get straight to the point once we do get there. And that's the first way to do it. I'd highly recommend you do that after you finish the rest of the video. So the next way is to automate whenever there's a new booking. So sometimes they may not get booked for whatever reason and they might not go to the landing page. But what you can also do is in Zapier. Zapier is just a automation tool. You can make an automation that whenever someone books a meeting, you send an email to them. And in this email, you can actually put whatever you want. So in my emails that I send, I say, firstly, looking forward to the call. Make sure all decision makers are there and review this document before getting started. And what this document is, it is our growth plan. Now, this is a 55-minute video of me explaining exactly how we do what we do. And if you want, you can check that out as well. You can model yours off of it if you want. Some people are just going to copy it word for word, but regardless, I'll link it over here. So as soon as someone books, they get the email and then they see whatever content that you want to show them. And this can be done in Zapier. It's very easy to do. Just go to Zapier, create a Zap, select whenever someone books a meeting, send an email. Very easy to do. And if you want me to make individual videos on any of the things that I'm mentioning now, just let me know. Then the next place to use this content is in follow-ups after sales calls. So what I like to do is that after every call that doesn't close and I schedule a follow-up call, side note, make sure if you ever get on a call with the prospect and it doesn't close, schedule a follow-up call, right? I don't care if they are out of town. I don't care if they are celebrating some holiday, whether it's Christmas, schedule a follow-up call, and ideally the next day. If you can't, get something in the calendar, because it's not in the calendar, it's not going to happen. They're not going to book in again. Make sure you do that. So after a call, what I do is I have a template in our CRM. You can do this in like Gmail too, where it says it's my no close follow-up. And in there, it just has a template that says, hey, name, was great speaking, looking forward to our follow-up call. And then it links a case study, a case study, a case study, a case study, case study, and a lot of case studies. And some more videos as well. So for example, this is how you solve this problem. This is how you solve this problem. This is how you solve this problem. And then it's like, if they were on the fence of working with you, now they're seeing these results. Now they're seeing the way you solve these problems, the problems that they're facing right now. They're like, okay, this guy's he's actually pretty good. So then the likelihood of them closing on the next call is a lot higher. Then what I also do is on the signature of every single email that I send, I include 3 links. The first is a link to my YouTube. The second is a link to our growth plan, so that long video that explains what we do. And the third is a link to our LinkedIn. And the reason I do that is that I know that if someone clicks that link, they're going to be bombarded with a whole lot of content. So if they click on the YouTube, they'll see, okay, here's 20 videos of him solving my problem. And if they do that, the likelihood of them watching one will be very high. And the thing is, because I have all the conversations on email, every single email ends with that. By doing that, it just increases the likelihood that they're going to check something out. Same with the LinkedIn, same with the growth plan. And you can easily do this in the settings. You can just Google that. It's very easy to do as well. So the final example for where you can put your content is on all social media platforms. So LinkedIn, YouTube, obviously it's going to be on YouTube. If you use Instagram for outreach, you can put it there too. And obviously you don't have to put it on all social medias. You don't have to put it on your WhatsApp if you use that for personal. Don't put it on your Tinder unless your ideal clients are from there. But put it on the places where you know that your prospects are going to go. So your website, LinkedIn most likely, and any other thing related to your business, right? Any place where they could search for that. And by implementing these 5 locations, these 5 hacks, it just ensures the highest probability of a prospect seeing that, right? We want to make sure it's everywhere, because the thing is, unless they see it, you can't get the benefits of the sales energy, right? They need to actually see it. They need to actually consume it. So our main goal at this point, after creating the content, which you should have done, is to actually make sure that they see it. And then once you do that, you'll have a much easier time in sales. So if you found this video useful and want more information on what we do, you can just check the link in the description. And if you want more videos like this, subscribe for more, and also check out the channel. There's a lot more videos that solve the other problems like booking more meetings, signing more clients, everything else to that degree. So I will talk to you in the next